I want to thank you, Natasha, for having me. I was so honored when you asked if I could speak a little bit and share a little bit of my story with you and with your community because sugar addiction is real. It's definitely a journey, and I can share a little bit about my journey and how I've navigated that and some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way to kind of help me with that. And I'll introduce myself really quick if I'm new to anybody. I'm Dr. Laura Ricci. I have a doctorate in physical therapy, and my background is actually women's health and pelvic floor physical therapy. And I have a 1 year certification in women's health and functional nutrition coaching. And I'm also a national board certified health and wellness coach. And this is a passion of mine. And I kind of came to this through a cancer journey and chronic Lyme disease and going through a lot of hip surgeries for adult hip dysplasia and just very strange things. And so I had cut out gluten, dairy, and sugar, refined sugar, because I knew it was inflammatory. And I did see big changes in my health with doing that and making those swaps. And what was interesting was 2020 hit and we had the pandemic, and my husband was quarantined with me, and just eating gluten, dairy, sugar free, what I was cooking, he lost 40 pounds. And me not changing what I was cooking or my exercise gained 20 pounds. And I was so frustrated that he was losing all this weight. I was like, wait a second. And it was then that I realized what a huge impact sugar has on our bodies. But even the things that I didn't think about as sugar, like flours or stevia or sweeteners, other things going on, as well as stress. Stress has an amazing impact on our weight gain and how we're feeling in our body and all of that. So I was very frustrated and was looking for a solution. And I went back to what I knew as a functional nutrition coach of doing an elimination diet where I'd already cut out gluten, dairy, sugar, but soy, corn, peanuts, and eggs, and did that for a month and worked with my functional medicine doctor and worked out with a trainer twice a week. And after that month, I gained a pound. I was still so frustrated. And I got an email about Brightline Eating. And I thought, this is interesting. And Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, she's actually a neuroscientist who specializes in food addiction. And she had some videos kind of going through and explaining that. And I watched the videos, and it explained so much to me from a different perspective of food addiction that I hadn't really learned or thought about before. And she was saying that flour, all flours, coconut flour, almond flour, can be very addictive to the brain, as well as all sweeteners, stevia, honey, maple syrup, xylitol, monk fruit, all of those things. And I had swapped out refined sugars for these things, but sugar is still sugar. And she has a quiz. It's a susceptibility score that you can take to actually see how susceptible you are to some of these foods. And I will look it up. I will type it into the chat. We can add it to this video if you're curious and you want to see what your susceptibility quiz is, what your number is, but it's a 1 to 10 scale. And I took that and I was really blown away because I was an 8 on that scale. And I would not have considered myself a food addict by any means. I hadn't had binging episodes or things. But what I was doing was noticing I wanted something sweet after every single meal, or I would go get a handful of Lily's dark chocolate chips and I would eat those. And then I was like, that wasn't very much. I'm going to go grab a few more of those. Or I love those little Justin peanut butter cups, and I would go get one of those. And then I would go get another one of those. And I was high on that score. And so I thought, this is interesting. I'm going to try it. And there's actually four bright lines in Brightline Eating is no sugar or sweeteners of any kind, no flour or other types of flour substitutes of any kind. We weigh and measure our meals. and there's no snacking. So we have 3 weighed and measured meals. And I know that that can sound radical to a lot of people. I bought a food scale and I started weighing out, and it tells you the recommendations of you get this much for breakfast, this much for lunch, this much for dinner. And you actually weigh and measure your meals to make sure you are eating enough food. It's actually quite a bit of food, and it took my body a couple days to adjust to that. But what I realized with weighing and measuring my food is I was overeating healthy fats and proteins, and I was not eating enough vegetables and fruits. And that became very evident when you see that and you start to track that. And I also didn't realize how addicted I was to almond flour, coconut flour, and all these sweeteners, because I went through 4 to 5 days of withdrawal when I started this, of feeling very sick and very tired and going, whoa. And she even talks about, if you look at pictures of flour or you look at pictures of sugar, they look like cocaine. They look like drugs. And the brain recognizes them as drugs. So as I started this journey, what I noticed after the initial withdrawal was that I no longer had food chatter. I no longer was thinking about food all the time. I realized I actually saved myself a lot of time because I didn't realize how much time I spent snacking or thinking about food. And my sugar cravings completely went away. 100% went away, which was crazy for me. I have never experienced that in my life. And what was fascinating was I started this June 22nd of 2021, and then we hit our first holiday, right? 4th of July. We got all together with the family, and they had all of this in Brightline Eating. We call it NMF, or not my food, which would be like dessert, anything with sugar or flour in it. And just seeing all the desserts out on the table, but not even eating them, my sugar cravings came back for 2 days, just looking at it. And then it went away again. And the same thing happened with Thanksgiving, right? I saw it, the sugar cravings came back for a few days, and then they went away again. And that was letting me know how powerful just looking at some of these things is for our brain. It takes about 90 days to heal the brain with coming off of flour and sugar, which is really fascinating. But it's a book called Brightline Eating. You could check it out at your library or purchase it on Kindle or online. And there's a cookbook too by the same name, the Brightline Eating Cookbook. That's Susan Pierce Thompson on there. And they also have like a membership. It's $20 a month. And they have a boot camp. So you can go online and you can go through the boot camp, which is what I did. It's a 70-day boot camp. And it has education and a little weekly video that you go through. And it kind of tells you what to expect each week that you're on this. And that helped a lot. There was a Facebook community for support. There's daily accountability calls that you can hop into, and you can call in and get coaching. But during that journey, I lost not only the weight that I had gained during the pandemic, which was 20 pounds, but I actually lost 30 pounds. Almost 30 pounds through that, and went back down to the weight that I was in college and when I got married to my husband 13 years ago. And I never thought I would see those numbers again, which was cool. But other things that I noticed was I was able to fit into my old clothes, but my confidence soared. I started having more confidence in myself. I started wearing more fun clothes, like bright colors and fun earrings. And I'm going, who is this? It was almost that I wanted to be seen. And I almost feel like fashion was such a healing thing for me, of wearing clothes that fit, that I felt good in again. People said, Laura, your skin, your face, you glow. And I think it's coming off of those inflammatory foods and eating lots of fruits and vegetables. My mood improved, and the science and the research actually shows us that people that eat vegetables and fruits, they're actually happier than people that don't eat those foods. I started sleeping better. The acne on my skin went away. There was a lot of things that happened along that journey that really blew my mind, and is why I became so passionate about it and thought that it was really fascinating. I'm on day 243 of Brightline Eating right now. we count our days just like an alcoholic counts their days of how many days they're sober. Similar thing kind of with Brightline Eating, but it's been a powerful journey. So I hit maintenance of losing the weight that I wanted to lose, and now we're just maintaining that weight. And I actually started a weightlifting training program. So when we lose weight, it's actually not through exercise. It's through what you're eating, and exercise can actually deplete your willpower. So when we are talking about fat cells, it's not that you get an increased number of fat cells or less. You only have a set number of fat cells, but they're going to expand or shrink. Now, a lot of toxins in the body are stored in the fat cells. So when you're losing weight, those fat cells are shrinking, those toxins are dumped out into the bloodstream, which is why you can get really tired or have more fatigue. It's why weight loss is a process, and they talk about being very gentle with yourself through this process. So in Brightline Eating, they actually don't recommend exercising during the initial phases until it becomes automatic. Right now, I don't have to think about it. I weigh and measure my food. It's no big deal. It become very easy for me. And so they say that's different for everybody, but maybe about 90 days to get that automaticity. For some people, it might be a little bit more, unless you were an avid exerciser before you started Brightline Eating, because exercise is going to deplete your willpower. And if we only have a finite amount of willpower, we want to put that towards our food, and do something like gentle walking or stretching or yoga as we're in that bunny slipper stage of being really kind to your body while you're losing the weight. So I actually didn't exercise at all during the weight loss period. And it was after that, it became automatic that I then started lifting and doing some heavy weightlifting and working on that. So that's a little bit about my journey in Brightline Eating. I have a few slides, and I'll talk a little bit about sugar cravings and some of that. But you can see this was where I started and how it's going. This was back day 193. I'm on like 245, something like that right now. But it was quite the transformational process. And I learned a lot about sugar cravings and eating and food through that journey. But just to share a few tips with you that you can take along your journey: drinking lots of water. I'm sure you know this, and people talk about this all the time. There's really not a specific thing in the literature, in the research, about how much water you should be drinking, but we usually tell people take half your body weight in ounces, and take half your body weight. So your body weight, divide that by 2, and that's how many ounces of water you should drink a day. I like to add a citrus essential oil to that. So I am an essential oil educator with doTERRA essential oils. I sell essential oils, but I really support people on a transformational journey with this. So instead of adding in sweeteners or sugar or something to our water, if you get bored with just water, you could add in a citrus oil like lemon, lime, grapefruit essential oil. You just want to make sure that it's a pure pharmaceutical grade oil, not the stuff at the health food store, not the stuff at Amazon. That stuff's actually going to tell you it's not safe for internal use. But if you're using the real thing that actually is very high in antioxidants, it's going to help to support your digestive system. And it's also going to help with detoxification. So when we're talking about weight loss, supporting the kidneys and the liver and getting those toxins out of the bloodstream and flushing that out. I would actually recommend for a lot of people go up to 80 ounces of water, because most people are dehydrated. So adding in even more to make sure that your detoxification pathways are open is going to help too, if you're having sugar cravings or working on weight loss, to be able to flush those toxins out of the body and help with those withdrawal symptoms when you're coming off of sugar. Or you could try something like an herbal tea. In Brightline Eating, we don't do, if you're going to have something besides water, it's like a bubbly water that's not sweetened with anything, or herbal tea or black coffee. That's pretty much it that we drink with this.
Ask you real quick. So
Yeah.
I just had labs done a month or so ago, and they found aluminum. in my body. And I was asking her, like, do you think it's the sparkling water that I've been drinking so much of? Because they come in aluminum cans. And she was like, it could be, but I just thought that was really interesting because, I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that. I know I've heard cooking with aluminum foil, and we don't do it that much. So I was just like, oh, I wonder if it was my aluminum cans for my sparkling water. And anyway,
It could be. It really could be. Heavy metals in the body is a real thing. And that may be even looking at your sterling, if you have stainless steel water bottles, and maybe just switching that all over to glass as a possibility. Um, you could switch over to like ceramic pots and pans and things. It could be the aluminum cans and the bubbly water. And we're always kind of looking at how to reduce toxic load as much as possible because we live in a toxic world. So you're bringing up a great point, right? How do we live here and do the best we can to kind of open up detoxification pathways? So I would also be asking you to, how many bowel movements are you having a day? Like ideally we want to have 2 to 3 well-formed bowel movements a day. So I'm like, okay, are we pooping? Are we drinking 80 ounces of water a day? Are we sweating? Are we getting those things out? And cilantro essential oil is actually a really great one for helping to release heavy metals in the body. And you can take that internally. You could apply it over the liver, which is on the right side, kind of right up under the ribs and kind of wraps around, and over the kidneys on the lower back, kind of flank area, and even bottoms of the feet. And Zendocrine essential oil is a detoxification oil, which has cilantro in it. Yeah, but that's a great question. And I would probably be doing a couple things for some heavy metal support and working on getting things moving to get that stuff out. And it could be, maybe it's not going off the bubbly water forever, but maybe for a couple months and kind of seeing how you feel and just switching over to like glass and ceramic and just noticing how your body feels. And then retesting with the heavy metal, because I think a lot of times people won't retest and then we don't know if what we're doing is working. But yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. Reduce or eliminate alcohol. It's very acidic in the body. It's inflammatory. It's going to affect your immune system. It basically turns into sugar. It can cause mineral deficiencies. In Brightline Eating, we don't do any alcohol with this. So that's something, little tip that you can kind of play with there. Manage your stress. We're all going into, right, during a global pandemic. Easier said than done. But maybe doing some form of meditation. I love the Insight Timer app. It's free and you can do a guided meditation, or you could even just set a little timer for 1 minute. You could start with 1 minute or 30 seconds and just do some deep breathing, or staying in the present moment. Like when you're in the shower, be in the shower, not your to-do list that's 5 pages long. Just notice how that warm water feels on your scalp. Can you notice the soap and how that feels on your skin, all of that? Or when you're washing dishes, same thing. Can you just be present with what you're doing in that moment? Can you do some type of gratitude? Can you pause and name 3 things that you're grateful for, or have a gratitude journal that you can write things down in? I love to use essential oils because they're a way to turn down the volume of your central nervous system. When you smell something, that sense of smell through the olfactory nerve goes into the limbic system of the brain, and this houses your memories, moods, and emotions. This is why you can smell something and you may be thinking of your grandmother who cooked something. You can have this memory pop into your head. It can work the other way. Maybe you walk into a hospital and you have a bad memory pop into your head of something. So it's that direct link. So just inhaling something like lavender is very calming, or citrus oils. Or if you've heard of Japanese forest bathing, there's a lot of really interesting research on PubMed about that, about how people will go into the forest and walk for an hour or two, and they come back and all their physiological symptoms are better. Their heart rate decreases, their blood pressure decreases, their cortisol levels are better, their immune system is boosted. And if we can't go out and walk in the forest, we can bring the forest to us by diffusing some type of forest essential oils with that, like Douglas fir or Siberian fir. Any of the woodsy oils are really great for that. or the adaptive. Adaptive was specifically designed for stress and overwhelm. I call it the 2020 oil, but I guess it's still the 2022 oil. Anything that you can use to kind of pull in and ground yourself to help with stress, because the world's not going to change. We have to change. And it's not the stress that's bad, it's our response to the stress. So if we can notice that and use some tools, that can make a really big difference too. And will also help with sugar cravings and weight loss. Sleep. Sleep is so important. One night of poor sleep is going to spike your insulin levels like eating a candy bar. So we have tools for that. I've got a lot of videos on YouTube. If you search Dr. Laura Ricci sleep on YouTube, lots of videos and education will come up. I love using the essential oils with this. There's some from doTERRA that you can actually take internally to help support sleep. You can diffuse them or put a couple drops on your pillow, and you can also use them topically by putting them on the bottoms of your feet to help with support. So again, having some tools, whether you struggle with falling asleep or staying asleep, to help you with that, that's going to help with your willpower, your energy levels, your sugar cravings, your weight loss, all of that. Focus on sleep and rest. Balance your blood sugar levels. That's really important. And that, I think, comes from eating a healthy fat, protein, and fiber, like fruits or vegetables. And this is why I love Brightline Eating and looking into some of those resources, because when you weigh and measure it out, most people do not eat enough fruits and vegetables. The World Health Organization recommends 9 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables, and most people don't do that. And we do that in Brightline Eating. So looking at balancing your blood sugar. And that was fascinating to me because I was eating more of a paleo diet where I took grains out before Brightline Eating. I think it was actually too low carb for my body. And I was really struggling with PCOS and ovarian cysts and weird blood sugar spikes. And when I took all the flour out, because I would eat like siete cassava chips or almond flour tortillas or some of those things, when I took those out and started Brightline Eating, my blood sugar levels completely balanced and I stopped having ovarian cysts, which was wild to me. It's like a game changer. So balance your blood sugar levels. Ask your body what you need. And I like this a lot. Like, are you hungry? When was the last time that you ate? Are you thirsty? Do you need some water? Do you need to go and take a walk? Do you need a bath? Do you need a nap? Like, just kind of tuning in and noticing that. If you're having a sugar craving, is it really the sugar? Or do you need something else in that moment? And how can you honor that? And just be kind of open. Might be interesting. Like, you're like, what do I really need right now? It's funny what might pop up for you when you start to tune in and listen to your body. And then there's a couple supplements that can be helpful for sugar cravings. Chromium is one that could be really helpful, and work with your doctor, work with your healthcare team on all of this stuff. Magnesium can be really helpful as well. And that you could take, especially at night, to help you sleep, but also if you're constipated and backed up and you're not having 2 to 3 well-formed bowel movements a day, adding in some magnesium can be really helpful for that. And DHEA, so taking a high quality fish oil supplement can be helpful. And we have some of those supplements through doTERRA, but you can get them from other places too. But really kind of optimizing that can help, and people may notice that their sugar cravings start to improve with that. And then you can look at essential oils too. We talked a little bit aromatically, topically, internally. I would recommend that you're using a pharmaceutical grade. Quality really, really, really matters with this. But turmeric actually inhibits enzymes linked to type 2 diabetes. It can slow the digestion of starches. It can help to reduce blood sugar spikes. And so I actually like the turmeric dual chamber capsules. It is the turmerones from the essential oil plus the curcuminoids. So typically, if you were to do a turmeric supplement, say at the health food store, they're going to tell you that you need to take it with black pepper and a healthy fat to be able to absorb it. The beauty of the essential oils is those turmerones are already there. And this is basically the entire plant, and it's readily absorbable. So you don't have to have the black pepper and the healthy fat, and you actually get an 11 times absorption doing that dual chamber capsule turmeric supplement than something that you could buy at the health food store. There's like not another turmeric supplement on the market like it, which is kind of cool. I like using, and you could take the essential oil internally. You're going to get about a 7 times absorption with that. But I like to save that and use it topically. So you could use it for inflammation. Say you're having knee discomfort or low back discomfort, you could apply it topically to those areas and have that on hand, or you could just apply it over the liver or over the kidneys as needed. So turmeric is a really great one. Cardamom lowers blood sugar levels. It'll help with cravings. It'll increase fat metabolism. Our cardamom is actually safe for internal use. So you could add a drop to water and take it, put in a little veggie capsule, or these are all things that you could just roll on the bottoms of your feet or over your liver and kidneys every day for help. Coriander, this is going to help to reduce blood sugar levels. This acts as a little gentle stimulant for low energy. This is another one kind of similar to cilantro. They come from different parts of the plant, but as well for heavy metal support is a nice one. This is what I love about the essential oils. If you're using a pharmaceutical grade brand, you can take it internally. You can actually cook with them. Cinnamon bark, it slows the absorption of glucose. It's going to help to curb sugar cravings, and you can bake with this oil. If you follow me on Instagram, I make sugar and flour free recipes, and I make these really yummy muffins, and I make like pumpkin cheesecakes and all kinds of fun stuff. And I'll use a couple drops of the essential oils to sweeten things without any type of sweeteners, which is nice. And you could even add a drop of cinnamon to your coffee or to your tea if you wanted to give it a little bit of a flavor. And grapefruit, it's going to help with those withdrawal symptoms if you're going through a detox with that. So that can be really handy. It also helps with water retention or bloat. And it's one of my favorite citrus oils to use in water to just make it taste really yummy and good. And then fennel, this is one, if you're having a sugar craving, you can put a drop right on your tongue or put a drop in water or tea, and it's going to help to curb that, which is really nice. So things to grab in a pinch. And yarrow palm, this is one for metabolic support. So you can do a drop under the tongue morning and night. This is also really great for hormonal support. A lot of women will tell me just doing this, adding a drop to their tongue, under their tongue morning and night, helps with their period cramps or hot flashes or just overall hormonal support. So that's kind of a nice one too. And Slim and Sassy, I don't like the name of this oil. It's kind of silly to me, but it helps with metabolism. So hormone signaling, increasing that fat burning metabolism, helping with cravings. But you can also, so you can add it to your water, but you can add it topically. You can dilute it with a carrier oil like fractionated coconut oil, and you can put it over cellulite. So you can put it on like your thighs or your legs or over your abdomen. And it's designed for emotional support to help with body acceptance. So we use the oils for physical support, but you can also use them for emotional support, because going through a weight loss journey or sugar cravings or sugar addiction, it can be emotional when we take those things away, especially if you're only getting pleasure and joy in life from food. So having some things to help with emotional support can be really helpful. Imbalance oil. So this modulates blood sugar. It's very oxygenating to the cells. I like it for anxious feelings. It's the grounding blend. You can put on the bottoms of your feet each morning. It makes a nice non-toxic perfume. So getting rid of synthetic fragrances like air fresheners, plug-ins, candles, perfumes. These are all going to be really great things for your hormonal and respiratory health. And this, because it's so oxygenating, I actually love it for blood draws. I'll put it over my arm and it kind of makes that vein pop up a little bit and makes me have such a better blood draw. I used to be a hard stick, so I use this for a lot of different things. And then diffusing oils. Peppermint, there's some interesting research about just diffusing peppermint oil can help to reduce your appetite and cravings. Same thing, similar with grapefruit and lemon. You could do equal drops of each to help with sugar cravings, but you can also look up the emotions of oils. So we have the Emotions and Essential Oil book to support you. So if you're feeling frustrated or sad or kind of going through withdrawal symptoms, you could look up oils to support you with that emotional piece. And the longer you stay away from it, the easier it gets. They do go away, and your taste buds will change about every 20, 21 days. So hang in there and give it time. Now, when I eat fruit tastes so sweet to me now after not having any sugar or those things. So if you keep it out, that makes a huge, huge difference with everything. And I would love to connect with you if you have questions over anything that we talked about, or you just want to follow along on my journey. I'm in all the places. Search Dr. Laura Ricci. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. Instagram is kind of my main place that I hang out. It's my favorite, but I'm on the other places too. And I do share a lot of recipes and ideas for how to ditch the sugar and help with those things. But yeah, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
I think that was all great info that you shared, and I love that you brought up the essential oils at the end, because I did have a couple of ladies who were saying like, "Oh, I'd love to know more about essential oils," and they didn't know that you could use them for other things, and it seems like one oil has so many uses. I mean, it's kind of nice to see it written out like that. So I'll definitely share the video as soon as we stop recording and everything. I think that they would love to go through and look at those. So, but yeah, Carol, did you have any questions or things?
I had a question on the cinnamon oil.
Mhm.
What type of cinnamon is it?
It's cinnamon bark essential oil.
What about Ceylon cinnamon? I heard that the regular cinnamon is toxic if you eat too much of it,
So
and that you should do Ceylon cinnamon.
the quality and the sourcing really, really do matter with that. And I know cinnamon bark, some of it is sourced from Kenya, some of it is sourced from some other places, but that's a big, big deal with doTERRA. And why I trust them is they do 54 tests on each of the essential oils to make sure that they're pure, that there's no contaminants, heavy metals, pesticides, anything with that. And a lot of other companies, they'll kind of cut corners. They'll actually use a cassia base because it's cheaper than pure cinnamon, and kind of fill it. So when they're testing it, it's actually not real cinnamon that they're using, which is kind of interesting. So quality definitely matters. I feel very confident in using the oil safely. And the essential oil is going to be different than the spice that we're talking about there. So a lot of, you do have to be careful with spices, because like anything, like essential oils, supplements, food, quality definitely matters with that. So do some research and look into the testing with that. But yeah, I bake with cinnamon. I use it because it's pure. And with the essential oils, they are coming from, like cinnamon, it's actually the bark. They gave us a piece of it in Kenya. I got to go to a co-impact sourcing trip with doTERRA in 2019 before the world shut down. We actually got to like hold it in our hand and smell it, and you can kind of see, which is fun. But when they excrete that, the essential oils are so potent, they're 50 to 70 times more powerful than herbs. So a little goes a long way with that. But it's going to be very, very different, the cinnamon essential oil, than say cinnamon spice that you buy like at the grocery store.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was a good question.
I was also going to ask real quick so I could write it on our page. What was that quote that you said? Or maybe it wasn't a quote, but it was something about does it take 90 days to heal your brain from sugar?
Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson talks about when you're coming to sugar from a standpoint of food addiction, it takes about 90 days well, it might be 60 actually, now that I think about it. So between 60 and 90 days to really heal the brain so that it calms down, that the cravings go away, kind of similar to like a drug addiction. She talks a lot, and that's why I think it's fascinating. If anybody wants to check that book out at the library or read it or get it on Audible, because she's a brain scientist, she can speak a lot to the similarities between the two and how they both set off dopamine receptors in the brain very similarly to like cocaine or other drugs, and that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. So keeping it out allows the brain to heal. And this is also dependent on where you are in that susceptibility score. If somebody is really low, like for example, my husband, he's a 3, and he can have I don't know, Halloween candy or whatever, right? And he may eat like one piece and then the rest may sit there for 4 months. But if I know it's there, it's going to bother me. Like if I know it's in that drawer and I'm going to be thinking about it, and it's like there's this in the drawer and it drives me nuts. And then the food chatter starts going crazy because I'm an 8. I'm also not somebody who's going to take a bite of a candy bar and that's it. Oh no, I'm going to like eat the whole thing. So I respond very differently to him. And that's why with Halloween candy, I said, you need to get it out. You either need to hide it somewhere where I'm never going to find it. I need to not see it. Like dispose of this, take it to work, take it somewhere else. So knowing kind of where you are on that susceptibility scale is really interesting too, when talking about healing the brain. And when I started noticing, especially around holidays, that just looking at it would trigger me and set me off and create some sugar cravings for a couple days, I actually had to word it like, say Christmas, there were like 7 different pies on that table. And I thought, I cannot see any of this. So I made myself helpful and left the room and started working on the dishes. And I was like, I'm going to help clean up. I'm going to go fill up water glasses or whatever. And I made myself busy. And they were like, come and talk to us, Laura. We want to see you. And I said, no, I actually have to protect myself from my brain right now. So I'm going to go do the dishes, but when you're done, I will sit and talk to you. And that's what I did. And it worked really well. But now in Valentine's, now I'm on this journey for almost like 8 months now. I saw a bunch of NMF cookies and all kinds of things on Valentine's Day. And I was surprised that I was fine. And it didn't even bother me. It didn't trigger me. And I didn't have the sugar cravings. But for a couple months, it did. So just noticing where you are on that scale and honoring yourself with that. But that was probably the most mind-boggling thing for me, is I didn't realize that it was possible to not think and have sugar cravings at all, and just have all of that food chatter completely go away. I was a chocoholic. If you would have told me, Laura, you're going to go 8 months without eating a piece of chocolate, I would have said you're nuts. There's no way that I can do that. And I don't even crave it. It doesn't even look good. Like, don't even want it. So it is 100% possible to heal your brain. It just takes some time.
Yeah.
How about the sugar in fruit? Doesn't that trigger you?
No, and the sugar in fruit is different because you're eating the whole food. So you've got sugar in fruit, but it's also, you're getting fiber with that. And then we're eating it in our meal. So we've got some protein and some fat, and we're eating it all together. If you were to juice it and then you don't have fiber and then it goes into your bloodstream very quickly, yes. So that's why in Brightline Eating, we don't do fruit juices or juicing or smoothies where we blend food up. We don't do any of that. So we just eat the whole food, but it's different. And she even described that similarly, like with flour, which is interesting, that like even almond and coconut flour, she described it as if you have this big block of ice in the summertime and you put it out on your driveway, it's going to melt really, really slowly. But if you have snow cone shavings that you like throw out on the driveway in August, it's going to melt really fast. And that's how flour is going to go into your bloodstream. And I think that's why even the almond flour and cassava flour, coconut flour, I could make, and I was making a lot of paleo treats and it was spiking my blood sugar crazy high. But what was fascinating to me, and I thought, and I was taught in my nutritional endocrinology practices, that you couldn't eat high glycemic fruits. Don't eat pineapple, don't eat mango, don't eat cherries, because it'll spike your blood sugar too high. So when I came to Brightline Eating, I thought, I can't eat 6 ounces of pineapple. This is going to spike my blood sugar and cause all kinds of issues. And it was the opposite. But I think it's because of the timing, and you're eating it with other foods, and you're getting the fiber and the whole food. And that made a difference. And now, I mean, I had gone years without eating any tropical fruits. And like I had mango today with lunch and it was amazing. And you get that natural sweetness and it's just enough. Like you're satisfied, you don't need more. Nature's pretty cool, right? We can kind of get a lot that we need from that. But when we start disrupting it with like the flours or the artificial sweeteners or things like that. And I was also taught stevia is fine, right? It's not going to spike your blood sugar. It's not going to cause food chatter. But I didn't realize that it was until I took all those sweeteners out.
So the trick is to eat fruit with your meal, not to eat it as a snack in the middle of the afternoon.
Yes, yes. If you eat your fruit as a snack randomly, that can spike blood sugar levels and kind of go up. And that's why we just have 3 meals in Brightline Eating. And actually we have a fruit serving with breakfast and a fruit serving with lunch. And we don't have a fruit serving with dinner. So it's kind of spaced out very purposefully with that.
So on your servings that you have, is it based off of what you're trying to do, like your own, calories and weight and everything like that, whether you're trying to maintain or lose or gain weight? Do you factor that in and you eat different amounts of servings of vegetables and protein and everything a day?
There's one weight loss program, or I guess plan. So if you're working on losing weight, everybody's on the same weight loss plan. And that is an ounce of grains with breakfast, or you can do potatoes or sweet potatoes, and then you weigh 4 ounces of it cooked. And it's all in the book. But so you have a grain serving with breakfast, a protein serving, and then a fruit serving. And that's your breakfast. And then lunch is 6 ounces of vegetables, 6 ounces of fruit, 4 ounces of protein, and a fat serving. And that depends. Like if you're doing avocados, that's 2 ounces. If you're doing cheese, that's 1 ounce. If you're doing like a salad dressing, that's 1/2 ounce. So it just kind of depends, but it's all makes it pretty easy to follow. And then dinner is 14 ounces of vegetables, which is a lot of vegetables. Some people will split it and they'll do 10 with lunch, 10 with dinner to split it up. 14 ounces of vegetables, a protein serving, so like 4 ounces of protein, and a fat with that. And that's the weight loss plan. Now, they adjust it if you're a heavy exerciser. You may need more food. You may need an exercise ad. So they'll adjust that and they can kind of help you with that. Once you lose the weight and you move to maintenance, then you start adding more food in so that you stop losing, because you don't want to keep losing weight as you go on. So that's when you kind of tweak, and we add in a little bit more. You could add in a grain serving with lunch, and it kind of talks about it in the book of like where to start once you're ready to kind of start transitioning to maintenance. Since I do a lot of weightlifting, I did a protein ad. So I added in more protein to kind of help me with lifting with that. But it gets easy. And once you kind of start doing it, you get in the hang of it, and it becomes pretty automatic. But I liked it because I wasn't tracking calories or macros or any of that. I was weighing and measuring my meals with a food scale. And some people are like, that sounds too restrictive. It actually brought me so much peace, because you know how you hear things where you're like, eat a protein size, the deck of like a size of the deck of cards. What does that mean? Or your fat can be the size of your thumb or something like that. And I'm like, okay, no. But like when I put it on the scale, 4 ounces is 4 ounces, not 4.1. It's very black and white. It's very easy to see. And that brought my brain so much peace. And when you focus on that, they say, like, if you focus on keeping your lines bright, you'll lose the weight. If you focus on the scale, you're gonna struggle a little bit. But I just followed the plan. The weight slowly came off a little bit each time. I knew when I was on my period, I would gain about 1 pound at least around my period or the week of my period. So I expected it. Okay, the scale's gonna go up a little bit, and then it would start coming down again. But it's a great weight loss plan, whether you have food addiction or sugar cravings or not. I think anybody could do Brightline Eating, and you could kind of play with it. And maybe you're 1 or 3 on the susceptibility score and you're lower. Maybe after you lose the weight, you are somebody who could add in an occasional treat or something like that and be fine. I've just found, they say people come to Brightline Eating for the vanity, but they stay for the sanity. Like for me, it's not even worth it at this point to tempt it, because life is so much better when I don't have sugar cravings and I don't have food chatter and I'm not thinking about things. And it's just calm and it's just easy. And I should say, I get nothing from Brightline Eating. I'm not an affiliate. They don't pay me to tell you any of this. It's just, I've found it to be such a transformational thing for me on my journey with that has helped me a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much for sharing your
Yeah,
story,
thank you.
tips, and
Yeah,
all
it's
the
my pleasure.
all
And
the
if,
awesome.
yeah, of course, anytime. And if anybody has any questions or they want to reach out, please feel free. You can find me on social media or on Facebook or any of those places and send me a message if you have questions, and I'd love to support and help.
Awesome. Thank you.